Under the surface of the planet exists an abundant supply of moisture that permeates both soil and rock formations and can be found in almost any ecosystem, including deserts, mountains, and plains, among others. The total volume of groundwater is estimated to be over 100 times greater than that of all surface streams, rivers, and lakes combined, second only to ice caps and glaciers in total fresh water volume. Groundwater occurs anywhere below the surface where soil and rock are completely saturated with water. The top of this saturated zone is referred to as the water table, immediately above which is a region of unsaturated rock situated below the soil layer where the roots of plants grow. The unsaturated earth zone represents the main gateway for precipitation and melting snow to enter the soil and percolate slowly toward the water table, a process known as groundwater recharge. As water from the surface enters the subsurface rock, the pace of its movement is greatly determined by the geological composition of the materials it encounters. The ease with which water can move through pore spaces or rock fractures is known as hydraulic conductivity. Sand, gravel, and porous limestone formations tend to allow water to flow relatively unimpeded, as moisture is drawn down vertically in the direction of the Earth's core by the force of gravity. Alternatively, percolating water may come up against firmly packed clay or granite, which can be virtually impervious. The permeability of strata closer to the Earth's core is generally low as the weight from the rocks above compresses them, making deeper bedrock layers increasingly dense. Therefore, most of the groundwater on Earth is located in crevices in the upper layer of bedrock, within a few kilometers of the surface. Once its vertical movement is stopped, the water must either remain stationary or, for groundwater that moves horizontally, sometimes encounters other porous strata, which results in additional vertical movement. In such cases, groundwater may eventually move so deep that it remains in the subterranean environment for thousands of years. Impediment to groundwater movement can result when water enters a confined aquifer, a water-bearing stratum restricted by an impermeable geological formation called an aquitard. The only porous layer of confined aquifers occurs at the recharge zone, which is the area where the groundwater enters the confining structure, and this also provides the only possible point of exit. Large bodies of water in the saturated zone that flow with relative ease are known as unconfined aquifers, and the measure of how much water can move through an aquifer horizontally, aquifer transmissivity, fluctuates according to rising and falling water table levels. The volumetric flow rate, for example, cubic meters per second, ultimately determines the rate of discharge. Much of the groundwater in the saturated zone will eventually resurface at natural discharge points, most commonly occurring as seepage into swamps, lakes, and streams. Above-ground springs and geysers represent visible points of groundwater discharge, and the flow of discharge is continuous as long as sufficient groundwater is present and the water table is at a higher elevation than the discharge point. Long-term flow is possible if the local rate of outflow is balanced with the rate of recharge. In the case of geysers, groundwater surfaces intermittently as it is heated to the boiling point under significant pressure by geothermal activity. Additionally, some terrestrial groundwater exits directly into the sea. In this submarine form of groundwater effluence, the oscillating ebb and flow of tides allows some seawater intrusion, creating pockets of brackish groundwater in coastal and estuarine aquifers. Not all discharge points are natural. Some outflows are a direct result of human and consumption. The extraction groundwater from aquifers is an important moisture for the communities that border them, and they are continually exploited for a wide range of uses. Access to groundwater is accomplished through the construction of wells. In some confined aquifers, the enclosure of the formation generates a high level of hydraulic pressure, exceeding that which is required to bring the liquid to the surface. As a result, when these aquifers are accessed by drilling, groundwater will often gush through the opening without the need to use pumps to raise the water level, creating what is known as an artesian well. On the other hand, drilling into an unconfined aquifer produces a well with a water level equal to that of the water table. A single deposit of groundwater can service the agricultural, industrial, recreational, and domestic needs of an entire population, particularly if it is located in an arid or semi-arid climate poor in surface. One such example, found in southern Texas, is the Edwards Aquifer, which is the primary source of water for a population of over 2 million people and was responsible for making the initial settlement of the region feasible. Concerns over its usage have arisen, however, as extraction rates are estimated to be double the recharge rate. And the growing recognition of the delicate nature of the aquifer has resulted in the implementation of programs intended to assure that the exploitation of the resource is conducted in a manner that is sustainable.